See this? That's called a wrinkle, kids. And this is time. Guess where I'm going with this? Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. What is happening, my friends? Welcome back to Thumb Together, and today we are going to review A Wrinkle in Time together. This is Disney's big budget adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time, the novel from way back in the day. This book was published all the way back in 1962. Actually, January 1st, 1962. So this is as early 1962 as you can get. This was a beloved children's classic in literature for many, many years. And one day recently, Disney stepped into the ring, not unlike a giant wrestler of old, and said, "You know what, brother? We're going to make a movie about this Wrinkle book, and it's going to be big budget, and it's going to be blockbuster, and it's going to have Oprah in it, because Oprah sells tickets." And they made that movie, and it is out now, and it sold at least one ticket, because I bought one last night. And what is the verdict? What's Wrinkle in Time all about? Well, if you've not read this book, and I have not either, this book was a little wee bit before my time, and I never got around to reading it as a kid. But this is a story about a girl named Meg. And Meg is a very smart girl because her parents are both scientists. And her father is, in fact, he's almost, borderline mad scientist. This guy is sort of like a Stephen Hawking figure in this world that Meg lives in, and he's experimenting with wormholes and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And he has developed a method that he thinks will make space travel instantaneous, like basically hyperspace. And the method he used to do that is by wrinkling time. Here's how it works, essentially. Okay, if I have this pillow, and I want to get from this end of the pillow to this end of the pillow, but I'm super microscopically small. So if I start from here, it's going to take me a long time to haul my little microscopic ass all the way across the pillow to the other side. So what Meg's father posits is that we can cut that time down to almost nothing by wrinkling the pillow. And all of a sudden, that's a lot shorter trip, isn't it? So that's essentially how time wrinkling works. And that wrinkle, is called a tesseract. And the act of traveling via said wrinkle is called tessering. So the book kind of set up this very heady, very sciencey story about time and space travel. Now, at the beginning of our story, Dr. Murray has been missing for 4 years. He tessered somewhere, and now he's been gone. He's a deadbeat daddy. We haven't seen him around in 4 years, and poor Meg has grown up missing her pop, and she's also got a little brother whose name is Charles Wallace. And yeah, that is his full... He has 2 first names. His name is Charles Wallace Murray. And he's 6 years old, and he's even smarter than Meg. And it sort of is hinted at that he's going to be even smarter than his dad. And that's our tale. That is the tale of A Wrinkle in Time. It's about these kids who go on this very magical, spacey adventure to find their lost father. And they are aided on this adventure by 3 beings with strange cosmic powers, whose names sound like an Abbott and Costello routine, but I'm not going to complain because I had fun with those names. And their powers are sort of never really given limits. They're basically like 3 gods. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Their names are Mrs. Who, Mrs. Which, and Mrs. Whatsit. Frankly, I wish I could change my name to Mr. Whatsit. If that was my name, I would walk down the street every day with a little bowler hat and a cane and just tip my hat to people and be like, "Hello, my name is Mr. Whatsit. Would you like me to impart some wisdom on you today?" And they'd be like, "I'm calling the police. Back off, sir." But let's dive into this movie. What is the deal with Disney's A Wrinkle in Time? Is it worth the price of admission? And the short answer for that from me is Nah, I'm afraid not. It's not quite up to par with what I was expecting. I was sort of thinking I was going to get... Like, I had no idea what the story was. Like, I had a vague idea of the story, but I had no idea what to expect from this movie. I didn't go in there with any sort of, like, it better be like this or like that. I was kind of assuming it was going to be similar to the first Narnia movie. But I think that this is a step down from that, unfortunately. Let's go into the characters here. Storm Reed is the name of the young girl, the actress who plays our main character, Meg. Storm Reed rocks. This girl's fantastic. She's a great child actress. I mean, child actors can make or break a movie. We all know that. Storm was wicked. She was, just this likable kid. And even just like the costume design for her, she just looked like a regular kid, but she's on this like giant mythic quest, and it just looked right and it felt right. And she was very charismatic and very, well, I shouldn't say charismatic because her character is shy, so it's completely the opposite. But she was she was a likable hero. You wanted to see her succeed, and every time she failed, it was like a touching moment. Like, oh no, girl, come on, pick yourself up and try again. You're gonna do it this time, damn it. Sticking on the subject of good child actors, this kid who played Charles Wallace, I'm gonna talk about him more later in the spoiler section because there's a big spoiler part with him. But this kid was next level. Like, this, every time he opened his mouth, I had a smile on my face. Like, he was so smart for his age. The kid was, the character was 6 years old. I don't know how old the actor is. He's probably thereabouts, 6 or 7. And he's just like, when you look at a little kid and you listen to them talk and you're like, that sounds like there's like a 90-year-old person inside that kid's body. That's how this kid was. The character of Charles Wallace is this hyper genius, and it looks like they picked a hyper genius to play him. I don't know where this kid came from, but he's fantastic. And he just, like, if you're one of those people who just gets entertained by kids who just say smart stuff, you're gonna love Charles Wallace. It's a little grating, because this is a movie where people are running around and stuff is happening and things are being blown around by tornadoes and everybody's like, oh, look out, look out. So it's the kind of movie where characters yell out each other's names a lot. It's one of those movies. So when you have a character whose name is Charles Wallace, it gets weird. It's like, Charles Wallace, look out, Charles Wallace. I don't know. I don't know too many people with 2 first names, so maybe I just don't get it. I just don't get that world, man. I wouldn't understand. Then we have Meg's friend. There's a guy at school who likes her, and I'll be damned if I can remember what this guy's name was. This kid was all right. He was, a typical tween boy, and from the get-go, he's got like a mega crush on Meg. But I'm not in love with the way this crush was portrayed on screen, man. Because like this kid was like, this was like borderline Edward Cullen creepiness coming from this boy. All right, and he's a nice kid. I mean, in the movie, he plays this kid who's like, he's a good kid. He's got a rough home life, and he's a good kid. Leave him alone. But damn, there's like, they would cut to shots of Meg doing something smart because she's smart, and she'd be like, look, I discovered that if I do this, whatever, and then they pan over to this boy, and he's just like, wow, you got real pretty hair. They're not playing it for laughs. They're not playing it to be awkward. They're playing it like he's so in love with her. And, I'm sitting there like, really? Half the shots that he's in, he looks like he wants to eat her. So if you're the kind of person who thinks that a person staring at you with their mouth hanging open is the most romantic thing ever, you are gonna love this. And then we have the misses characters, who are these mythical god people who come from space. I don't even know what their deal is, but they are Mrs. Who, Mrs. Which, and Mrs. Whatsit. Reese Witherspoon, who plays Mrs. Whatsit, She had this very quirky, kind of almost Hunger Gamesy kind of personality to her, but not quite. She was funny. She was definitely the funniest character in this movie. You got Mindy Kaling, who is Mrs. Who, and her thing is that she never speaks for herself. She only speaks by quoting other people. So, you could be like, hey, Mrs. Who, do you want some pie? And she'd be like, the world is an oyster and we are merely shell crackers. Dante Alighieri, 1940. Like she talks like that. That's not a real quote, by the way. And Dante Alighieri did not live in the 1940s. History. It's worth knowing. And then you have Oprah Winfrey as Mrs. Which. And that's which as in, which of these should I wear? Not like, da-da-da-da-da-da, not that kind of witch. Oprah plays this character as just this very wise, benevolent, like Obi-Wan kind of person. She's really good. Oprah's a good actress, man. I don't see her in too many things, but when I see her act, she can act. And she's obviously, she's got top billing. She is the star, the selling point of this movie. She's not in it a whole lot, though. It's Meg's story at the end of the day. But she plays a really good character. For half the movie, she's giant for no reason, which is kind of funny. For half the movie, she's literally like the size of Godzilla. And she's just like, hello, Meg. I'm gigantic. Nice to meet you. So that's a thing. And then you have Chris Pine, who plays the father, Dr. Murray. He is the world's hunkiest NASA scientist, and he's missing in action. He's been gone for 4 years, and the whole movie's about finding him. And his wife, Mrs. Murray, who's also a scientist, is played by Gugu Mbatha Raw. They did some weird things with her that I thought was odd. Like, she's not in the movie a whole lot. I'm not even sure if she was in the book, to be quite honest. I know the book centered on Meg, Charles Wallace, and the dad, and I don't remember the mom being in the book, but she's in the movie for a few scenes, and they keep doing this thing where every person comments on how wonderful and how beautiful she is. Every character who meets her is like enamored with this character, and they keep making a note of saying like, wow, she's so gorgeous, she's beautiful. Gugu Mbatha Raw is a damn fine woman. She is. I'm not disagreeing at all. She's a beautiful lady. She can call me up anytime she wants. But that must have been just like taken word for word from the book, because it was a very odd, quirky thing to do. And like all the characters, even like her own children, they refer to her like, our mother's wise and she's so beautiful. I don't get it. That must be just a book thing. And then you got Zach Galifianakis, who plays this character who's called the Happy Medium, and he's just the guy who like meditates a lot, and he was fun. He was really good. And Michael Pena plays this guy called Red. But that is the cast of this movie. And then the story itself is very much like what I described the book. It follows the book pretty much to a T. Again, as far as I know, I haven't read it, but it follows the Cliff Notes version of the book pretty much to a T. Let's put it that way. Here's the thing. If you go to see this movie, there's something you need to prepare yourself for. There's a certain voice, a certain, I don't know what to call it, when it comes to children's literature. Have you ever, read a children's book out loud or heard somebody reading a children's book out loud, and the dialogue sounds something like, and good morning to you, and good morning to you, and a specialist, good morning to you. It's got this, not human quality to the way it is spoken. It's whimsical. It's talking whimsically. That's just how a lot of children's books are. Like Dr. Seuss does it a lot. Every character in this movie, whether they're a small child, a teenager, or a full-grown adult, talks like this. All of them. And I was not prepared for that. And I think if you prepare yourself for it, you'll have more fun than I did. When Reese Witherspoon walks into a scene, and she's dressed all fantastically, and she looks like, Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, and she's doing supernaturally things, my suspension of disbelief is fine. I got no problem with that. But then when she opens her mouth and she's like, and what a wonderful, joyous, zip-zoop-zoyous day we have. And I'm just like, whoa, I was not ready for that kind of language. That really caught me off guard. And a whole movie of that can get very grating. Thankfully, I think whoever adapted this kind of understood and threw us a bone every now and then. Like there would be very, very quick little snatches of dialogue that do not do that. But every character does speak like this for the majority of the time. And that was, I'm not going to say unsettling, but just, it caught me completely off guard. I've seen a lot of children's books adapted into movies, and they tend to sort of adult it up in a way. And this did not do that. This stayed very much in the realm of not just like tweens, but little kids. This is what I call a triple G rated movie. Okay, you got, on the other end of the spectrum, you got triple X rated movies. Those are for later. But this is a triple G rated movie. I mean, this is, your preschoolers are going to like this. If you're an adult, you got to just prepare yourself for that. And I think the problem, just my problem, was the trailer didn't sell that kind of movie. I walked out of here and I'm like, I saw what you did, Disney. You bait and switched me here. Because the trailer sells this, visually gorgeous fairy tale, which it was. This movie was absolutely a visually gorgeous fairy tale. That wasn't false advertising. But it sells also this eerie, creepy, cerebral kind of story where you have, if you remember that trailer, like they played this very moody version of the song Sweet Dreams Are Made for These. There's like a ticking clock going on in the background of the trailer, and it was very eerie and very dreamlike. That I was like, oh, that's cool, man. They're taking, this book, A Wrinkle in Time, and they're turning into this really mysterious little movie with these dark nuances. It kind of sold it almost as, like one of the middle Harry Potter movies. Like not quite as dark as like Deathly Hallows dark, but not, super bright and funny like Philosopher's Stone. It sold it more like it was like Order of the Phoenix or something. Like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a cool story. But that darkness is not present in this movie. It's maybe like 1% of it is present in this movie. And the rest of the 99% is, like I said, it's a triple G rated romp. It is like, and wonderful fun. It's the kind of movie, and this is quasi-spoiler, but not quite, so I'm just going to say this now. It's the kind of movie where the bad guy is defeated with the power of love. It's that kind of movie. Curses! I've been defeated by the power of love. If that sounds like a movie you would hate, stay away from A Wrinkle in Time. So let's go into spoilers now. There's not a whole lot of them. I mean, this is a 56-year-old book, for crying out loud, so if you haven't read it by now, the main spoilery thing I want to talk about, which is the thing that didn't quite work for me, what I mentioned earlier about the character Charles Wallace. The villain of this story is an entity called the It. No, not that one. Not that one. I actually don't have a picture to cut to because the It doesn't really have a form. The It already has Meg's father, and it wants to trap Meg and Charles Wallace as well. And because it doesn't have a physical form, it sort of possesses people instead. And here's the thing. Like I said before, the kid who plays Charles Wallace was excellent. This is a child, like this kid's gonna, unless he decides to quit acting because, he's jaded by it by the time he's 12, which a lot of child actors do. This kid is gonna be a fantastic actor. But he is a 6-year-old boy. And in the movie, he is the one who gets possessed by the It. So for the entirety of the third act, our villain is speaking through this kid. And I'm sorry, maybe if I was 8 years old, this would be a bit more tolerable. But Oprah's character is like God. And Oprah is afraid of the It. So you expect the It to be a big deal. And when the It shows up, it is this boy, Charles Wallace, speaking for it through possession. So you'll have this evil dialogue coming out of, you who are going to stay with me forever. You will be part of my darkness. That's how the villain's dialogue is here. It comes out of that boy's mouth, and it is silly. That's the problem at the end of the day here. Imagine if the Emperor from Star Wars was, never present physically, but he spoke through little 9-year-old Jake Lloyd from The Phantom Menace. I'm afraid the deflector shields will be quite operational when your friends arrive. That's our villain in this movie, guys. It's Charles Wallace possessed. And that was not good. It wasn't. Look, I'll say it again. The kid is a great actor, but I was never frightened for these characters. I wanted to be. I wanted to be scared of the It. Oprah is scared of the It, so I felt like I should probably be scared too. But when the It comes at me and he's like, ooh, I'm so mad at you right now. Let me just finish my juice box and then I'm going to get you. There was no fear for the It at that point. And like I said, the It is defeated literally by the main character saying, I love you. A bunch of times. It is one of those movies. It is a Care Bear kind of movie, triple G rated. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's Disney sold this through that trailer at least as an all ages movie. That's the thing. That's the thing we have to remember. There's a big difference between a kids movie and an all ages movie. A lot of people's first instinct, they'll look at something like Toy Story and they'll say, oh, Toy Story, that's a kids movie. No, it's not. It's an all-ages movie. Because my grandfather can walk into Toy Story and enjoy it. My 42-year-old friend who's a huge biker guy who likes beer and Playboy magazines, he can watch Toy Story and be like, damn, that was a really charming movie. But they can't enjoy A Wrinkle in Time because it's not an all-ages movie. It's a kids movie. That's the difference. It is 100% a movie for little kids. I would even go so far as to say that the girl, Storm Reed, the main character Meg, her character was a bit older than the target audience of this movie. Her character was, I want to say, like max 14, maybe like between 12 and 14 years old. And I would go so far as to say that if you're between the ages of 12 and 14, this might be too kiddie for you. Unless you walk into school every day and say, what a fabulous, zabulous, zip-zoop-zabulous day we have. Unless you talk like that, then yeah, A Wrinkle in Time is probably plagiarize your daily life. Otherwise, you're going to be like, I kind of want the big kid version of this instead. And, I was kind of expecting that too. I was expecting the big kid version, the all-ages version of A Wrinkle in Time. The Chronicles of Narnia is a very kid book. It sounds like this in the book. But when they made the movie, they were smart enough to understand that, hey, let's make this all ages so that more people will want to watch it. And, those movies didn't do well. They're not amazing. But I kind of dig the first one. And that is because they took that little effort to make an all ages movie. And, the same with, adaptations of things like The Indian in the Cupboard, The Golden Compass. Again, they're not fantastic movies, but at least they tried to be all ages. A Wrinkle in Time does not try to do that. It is 100% through and through a kid's movie. And I think that is to its detriment. So that is my review of A Wrinkle in Time. If you are between the ages of 4 and 8, go for it. Go wrinkle that time, baby. You're going to have a lot of fun. It's beautiful to look at. The two lead kids, Meg and Charles Wallace, awesome, like kid actors, man. They're getting better and better. Just look at Stranger Things, an all ages show. There you go. I'm trying to think of it. They don't even do that. That thing that I did with the pillow, they don't even show you that. They don't even show you the meaning of the term wrinkle in time, which I think was a huge missed opportunity. But I guess it was a bit too complicated for the 4.5-year-olds that this movie is clearly aimed at. So that's A Wrinkle in Time. That is Thumb Together. I'm Andrew Fantasia. If you like this, please be sure to give some love to that subscribe button because it helps me out a hell of a lot. I will see you next time. And if you can't wait that long, then by all means, wrinkle time, baby. And it'll be here before you know it.